Open your Bible up to Mark chapter 8, if you don't mind. Mark chapter 8, we'll take a reading from the gospel there. Mark 8, we'll begin in verse 14. We're going to ask ourselves the question that Jesus asks his apostles here at the end of the story, do you not yet understand? Let's read this story. It says, Mark chapter 8, starting in verse 14. Now, if you notice the context, just above this account, there's a story of him feeding the 4,000. If you look just a few verses up above, where he's fed 4,000, and we know kind of how that miracle plays out, very similarly to the feeding of the 5,000, which is back in chapter 6. So chapter 6, he feeds 5,000. That's the miracle we know quite well. And then the lesser-known event with he feeds just 4,000. Still quite a few people that he feeds miraculously with just a few loaves and a few fish. And then it says, verse 14 of Mark 8, and they had forgotten to take bread. Well, that should ring a bell. They had forgotten to take bread and did not have more than one loaf in the boat with them. And he was giving orders to them, saying, watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. Then they began to discuss with one another the fact that they had no bread. See, they're connecting the leaven to bread. And Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why do you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet see or understand? Do you have a hardened heart? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? He's quoting the Old Testament there. And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000? How many baskets full of broken pieces you picked up? And they said to him, 12. When I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets full of broken pieces did you pick up? And they said to him, 7. And he was saying to them, do you not yet understand? Isn't that remarkable? To have been there for those 2 amazing miracles that Jesus had done. And here, they still have this question of, do we have enough bread to get us across this lake? Right? We're going from one side of the lake to another, and we only brought 1 loaf of bread. They're still focused on these physical needs. You can see so plainly how Jesus is using these miracles as teaching devices, right? This was a teaching device with a very visual aid, and even a tactile aid, right? We talk about these different ways that we can try to get people to learn and remember a key message. They had picked up the broken pieces of bread and filled up baskets and brought those baskets back to Jesus. And he's reminding them of those details. Didn't you learn something from these events? What should have been the learning? That if you're with me, you don't need to worry about your physical needs. I, as he teaches from those events, I am the bread of life. And the one who eats of that bread will never hunger again. They didn't have need to worry about physical things. And so he's teaching them a lesson in the boat. And what was the lesson? It had gone right over their heads. We've probably already forgotten what he said. He said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. You know, Herod, the Pharisees, these are examples of men who encountered Jesus, and even though they saw great things that Jesus had done, they wouldn't believe. They were unwilling to believe in Jesus. And you need to beware of that kind of faith, a complete lack of faith, by not even being willing to acknowledge the simple truth of if a man can do this, he must be from God, and I should listen to him. We have to be careful to beware. We need to beware of that same leaven in our lives. We need to have the heart of a child that's willing and humble enough to admit the truth of the things that we are seeing right in front of our eyes. The miracles, the gifts, the blessings of God in our own lives so that we can have greater faith in him. And they were missing that. They were too focused on this life's needs. Ask yourself tonight, do you not yet understand? Because it's easy to fall into this trap of worrying about the next physical problem in life. How am I going to get over this trial? How am I going to get past this problem? I don't think I can do it. And Jesus would say, do you not yet understand what I've been doing for you? I've been providing solutions to each problem as it comes. And maybe we've been living for ourselves and we've been digging those holes for ourselves. That's not from God. That's from our own selfish desires. But when you turn to Jesus, when you follow Jesus the way those men were doing as they sat down on the grass, they'd been following Jesus, listening to Jesus, and guess what? He took care of their physical need to teach them a lesson that if you're with me, you're not going to have those physical needs. I'm going to provide for you. And what you really need to be watching out for is not how am I going to get that next meal, how am I going to get over that next problem of life. It's how do I guard myself against sin and a weak faith. That's what I need to be focusing on, having a stronger faith that believes in Jesus, puts my trust in him every day. He says, watch out, beware of evil that's in the world, the leaven of the Pharisees. Not watch out for your hunger and make sure you have enough to eat. Now, we've got to beware of the leavening effects of this world that wants you to think about the world and the works of the flesh, fulfilling your next desire. That's the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. We've heard many messages. We've read the scriptures. We've read these great miracles of Jesus that are designed to teach us who he is, who it is that we serve, the King of the universe, the one who created everything that we have and loves us and wants us to be well supplied so that we can serve him better each and every day. You know that Jesus is the Son of God, do you not? Do you not yet understand that Jesus is the Son of God? If you know that and haven't confessed it and then put on Christ in baptism, why not? You can do that tonight. And many of you have. Many of us have. Now we have to ask ourselves as well, do you not yet understand? Because if we're falling into the same traps of relying on ourselves and worrying about our problems rather than casting our cares on him, repenting of sin, turning away from sin, and putting our trust in him, that if I serve God faithfully each day, I don't know how it's going to work out, but it always has, and it probably will continue to work out. Do that. Live a faithful life, faithful to Jesus, the one who cares for us, the one who provides for us. He's the bread of life. Whatever your need is, if you have a spiritual need, come to the one who provides the spiritual food tonight while we stand and sing.